Hi, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, depending on from where you are joining us from today. I would like to start by welcoming my two amazing friends, Gosha and Håkan, who are going to help me today to conduct this amazing panel talk. And before we get started, I just want to have a quick introduction to what we are going to do today, because throughout the past year, we have talked about the development of an AI solution, the underlying mathematics and advanced analytics, data science, machine learning pipelines, and real life implementations as well. And hopefully you have learned a lot together with us. And before we get started to talk about today's topic, which is going to be how to sell our AI products, please, Håkan and Gosha, introduce AI42 to us.
Yes. Yes, so we would just like to have a quick introduction here into AI42. So basically, the motivation here for starting AI42 comes from the recognition that we believe that there is no really good starting material for getting into the AI and machine learning field here. So with AI42, we are a strong team consisting of 3 Microsoft AI MPs, and we will strive to provide you with a valuable series of lectures that will help you to jumpstart your career in data science and artificial intelligence. And our aim is to provide you with the necessary know-how so that we will help you to land your dream job, just as long as it's related to the fields of data science or machine learning. And the concept is quite simple. It involves professionals from all around the globe that will explain to you the underlying mathematics, the statistics, probability calculations, data science, and also machine learning techniques. And don't worry, because we will guide you through all of this. So all you have to do is just to follow our channel and enjoy the content every second week. It will be filled with real life cases and also expert experiences. And we have all started from scratch, and we are very happy to help you to build it up from there. And you can always stop and rewind the videos or ask for clarification in the comment section. And we hope to assist you on this wonderful journey and have you as a speaker one day. And we believe that by creating cross collaborations with other organizations, we can give you the best opportunities to broaden your network in the AI and data science communities. And with the combination of our offered services, we would support less fortunate people and organizations that are not that recognized yet, even though they deserve it.
And our organization is sponsored by Microsoft and MICE, and we are humbled by all the support we get from our contribution as well. Thank you for Liven Pangor for all the beautiful graphics content and Maya Mari for the cool intro music before our event. We are also in close collaboration with C Sharp Corner, a global AI community, so our lectures are going to be available also on their YouTube channel, additionally to our own media. And Nicolette Tove create and review all our text content we use on our website or advertise it and during our sessions. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to become a part of a growing community. We share knowledge and fun. You'll find every information that will bring you to an advanced level in the field of artificial intelligence and data science. And as well, you can watch our recorded session on YouTube channel and find our upcoming session on our meetup page.
Yes, and we also have a code of conduct. So our code of conduct outlines the expectations that we have for participation in our community, as well as the steps for reporting unacceptable behavior. And we are committed to providing a welcoming and an inspiring community for everyone. So be friendly and be patient, be welcoming, and also be respectful with each other. So with that said, let's get back here to the studio.
So, welcome back, everyone. And as you might already know, today we are going to learn how to sell our AI products. And that is a hard one for many of us, but soon we're going to hear our expert experiences. So, this afternoon, we are lucky to have Leon Gordon, current Microsoft Data Platform MVP, expert in data analytics. Hi, Leon.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for having me today. Absolute pleasure to be here with you.
It's great to be here.
Yeah, we also have Leila Ateti, Microsoft AI MVP and author of 3 very useful books in the field. Hello, Leila.
Hello, thanks so much for having in this and great to be in this talk. Thank you.
And we also have Johan Brattos, who is an data platform MVP and also principal solution architect. Welcome, Johan.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me.
And Priyanka Shah, AI MVP and IoT Director at Avanade. I'm very happy to see you here, Priyanka. Welcome.
Hey, hi. Thank you so much. And so happy to be a part of this wonderful panel discussion. Looking forward to it.
And last but not least, Peter Gallagher, Microsoft Azure MVP and IT consultant. Hello, Peter.
Hi, thanks very much for having me along. Hi, how's it going?
It's really nice to see you all here together, and we could hear a lot of great achievements from you guys, and congratulations to all that. And some of you might seem familiar to our audience, and that is not a coincidence because you were here with us at AI42 during the last few months, and you were teaching us a lot about Microsoft AI and Azure Data Platform. And thank you again for being here with us again and sharing your insights this time on how to sell AI products. So, shall we get started?
Can't wait.
So, who is going first? We have some questions prepared. And Håkan, would you like to take the first one?
Yeah, so our first question here relates to what kind of AI solutions your clients are looking for most of the time. So it could be either are they asking for just a prototype, or could it be that they ask more for migration or an improvement of an already existing solution? What is your experience about that?
I can go for that.
Yes, sure, Leila.
So yes, that's I think most of the time is prototype these days because people getting their data. So I'm coming from a data background. So most of my customer, they use data in Power BI, in SQL. So they have their own data ready. So they kind of want to see how they can have the machine learning through that. So for me, most of them is going to use prototype to see how they can use AI and ML.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I would agree. I'd agree with Leila there. So it's similar for the majority of our clients. We see that they have their data. They have some thoughts in mind on how they want to utilize that data and how they can benefit from the value of it. Particularly in our case, from machine learning. I was literally just speaking to a client before this call in regards to how they can start to use machine learning in telephony to predict leads and send those directly via API to their dialer software. So again, very much a prototype, proof of concept, before moving forward with hopefully a finalized solution.
Yeah. Yep. So it's almost similar also for Southeast Asia region, right? More so because companies are afraid to invest in AI for the very fact that we cannot commit on any accuracy beforehand. I don't go out and say that for your computer vision model, I'm promising you 90% accuracy because there will be data drifts. There will be, certain incorrect predictions, recalls, which will be done on your inferences scoring. So which is why most of the engagements are either advisory driven, like we go to the client place, we help them discover what sort of AI they can do, and then get some traction, build a sort of MVP, POC. Sometimes the POCs are paid, like the current one which we are engaging for AI for sustainability with the government here. It's like a paid engagement for 3-4 months, and then it will be rolled out to other departments for sustainability, for energy analytics. But yeah, more often than not, people are a bit hesitant to directly jump into, let's say, a digital twin implementation, or let's say a full-fledged knowledge mining document search engine. So they would rather see it on a prototype, get the results, and then try to roll it out on a larger scale.
There is one thing though in that is that yes, also in the Nordics you still see a lot of POCs, or they are curious, but they are a bit more mature in that they want to implement the AI, so they want to build machine learning models into their data platforms. But of course, they are not sure. Most of them don't have anything existing right now. Maybe they have an old statistical model running, but there are clients who come up and say, yes, we have something, we want to migrate it to the cloud, for instance. But mostly it is, we know that we want AI, we know that we need AI. How can we implement it? And then we have some use cases we want to do PLCs on. So it's the next step. I'm not sure, but it's still not a lot of migrations. It's mostly fresh fields.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm seeing mostly POC work, but certainly based on ideas that the companies have already got, based on the data they've got or the direction they want to go. And sometimes that's not even a fully formed idea, and then they need folks like us to come along and help guide them where they need to be going. But yeah, that varies. Sometimes they've got a really solid thing they want to do with their data, and sometimes they know that they want to do something with AI. They've got all of this data, and they just want to be able to leverage it in some way. It's funny to see the difference in the respective clients, even with where they want to go and how they want to take the data.
Yeah. But it's heartening to see that, people do want a lot of insights, analytics. So it's not vanilla solutions they want anymore. So even if you have a, customer related, marketing related implementation, they will inadvertently come and tell you that I want insights on top of that. I want a customer 360 view in my system. So that gives us a chance to have a bit of AI engagement in your normal, surround offerings as well. So in my company, whenever we sell D365 biz apps, AI rides on top of that in the form of customer insights, or in the form of custom AI modeling on top of D365 RSO, something of that sort. But yeah, I mean, the purse strings are not yet so open here in Singapore to invest hugely in AI. Like I have not seen a full-fledged, couple of $1 million of projects straight away. Like, you see our credentials and you hand it over to us. No, I mean, you have to build something for them, at least a small system, and then they would be willing to take it forward.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, Priyanka. And what we see a lot over here in the UK as well, at least from my experience, is that a lot of customers want to be involved in particular machine learning, but their data just isn't mature enough. Their data quality isn't up to spec to be able to invest in some of these newer technologies. So we have to then go through a process, and they have to understand that whilst they want, again, machine learning, they're just not mature enough for it yet.
Yeah, true.
Thank you for those answers, and it's very interesting that you're mentioning that it's mostly POC work. But can these POC works be turned into like a real project in most of the cases, or it is sometimes staying as a POC and maybe it gets picked up later on?
Yeah, I've been working with one client where we implemented a POC to compete against a large-scale analytical or prediction model that they had purchased from somebody else. And then that evolved into a larger scale migration to a better model this was for airports. And then they've taken that again, and they've gone out actually for a new bid for replacing everything, both the custom made that we had made for them, as well as the third-party ready-made they had. So it's getting there.
That's good to hear. Are we ready for the next question then?
Yes. So, how often can
Yes.
you use pre-trained models, or it is more likely that a solution needs to be built from the scratch?
Yeah, from my experience so far, I think that we generally see a solution from scratch. It's very much specific to every customer has been unique, or every client has been unique. We haven't been able to really have an off-the-shelf solution. I've done some work previously, particularly in the housing market, with prediction against property prices. which we have tried to lift and shift to customers as well. But again, there were elements of uniqueness which meant that we were better off just going forward with the new solution as opposed to trying to lift and shift.
Yeah, Gemini has actually involved or made a neural network to create synthetic data sets, which is then being sold as a pre-packaged model, which is quite nice, even though it still needs training on these new data sources it adds. It's still a pre-packaged model that you can solve, and it actually gets traction in the market because there's not a lot of packet or shelfware in that aspect.
Yeah. So the same. So I think that these days I saw that most of the pre-built package, they are kind of more trustable. So I can say before is, I can say more than 70% of project or more than was start from scratch. But now in most of the client, even I heard from other colleagues that they're using some of the pre-built packages from different kind of vendors, and that works fine. Even for our projects, I see sometimes based on their data and the model, the pre-built one really they did a good job actually. So I can say now is a half for our projects, half pre-built and half actually we need to start from scratch.
Right. Yeah. So normally for custom vision sort of projects, right, image processing, video analytics, we do see that a lot of pre-built models are used, leveraged upon. But when it comes to NLP, or as I said, right, there's a lot of traction right now for knowledge mining, graph search kind of use cases. So yeah, for those, because it's more, domain specific. So if we are working for an oil and natural gas company versus manufacturing energy, a perfume manufacturing company or a energy intensive company, then for those you can't even use your same accelerators which you have built. So let's say if I have an accelerator built on NLP for one client, that doesn't really hold it true for another client, because you need to annotate the data, you need to do all of the data analysis again on the client specific data. But yeah, I mean, related to as you know, Johan mentioned, for deep learning or neural networks, deep DNNs, right? Yeah, we are leveraging some pre-packaged, pre-trained models, but again, case to case basis. I mean, based on what use cases you are implementing, I would say it really depends.
Yeah, it's an interesting question actually, because we're all standing on the shoulders of giants with this anyway. It depends on how far you want to go down as to whether or not you call it from scratch or not. But certainly, the work that I've been doing, we train on top of pre-built models essentially, and it's an interesting conundrum when you do something like that, because who owns the model that you're standing on top of? And I noticed just the other day, the UK government are on about changing the copyright laws to make this particular problem easier, because the data sets, certainly if you're going to use them commercially, you nearly always have to pay some sort of a fee, a royalty fee or something to use that data. But I think the UK law is going to change to make sure that that's not going to be the case, which is, it's an interesting concept, interesting side of things commercially when you start thinking about who owns this data. It's interesting when you think about how you use your data as well. And I don't know what everybody else's experience of that is, but even the clients you're working for, they may not own, in the respect of being able to use it for training models, the data. So I don't know what others are seeing as a result of that. And do our clients even know that they can get into copyright claim issues if they use stuff that isn't actually theirs?
Right.
Yes, I can see that many clients are doing so, that they get the data sort of from a third party, because they are storing their data, they are doing some transformation on it. So when we get it back through the client, this data is so over transformed and over prepared that it's a nightmare to figure out which feature is what and how should that actually look like. What is the purpose of that column?
Yeah,
Right.
remove the bias as well.
Yeah,
That's
also
a
that.
difficult problem, but that's a completely separate question, that one.
Yes.
Yes.
And every time we start a project, we have this pre-sales period or like a proposal writing and all this where we try to provide value to the customers. So how do we show the value to the customer when we still don't have access to the data? We don't have designed contract. We only sort of have access to the description of the project, and we can use our own experience and knowledge to put together a valuable proposal to our clients. How would you get started on this situation?
I think there's a combination of elements, at least for me, from a client perspective, and it's understanding that the client understands the value of AI, and in particular for us, machine learning. And we focus on specific business problems that are going to have a high return on investment. By solving those problems, we find that our clients then are able to go and wave a flag, so to speak, across the business, and it enables us to then get buy-in for further projects and to solve further issues within an organisation. So for me, it's a key to make sure the client understands the value behind the AI, and also to solve a specific business problem with the solution.
And typically, it depends on how that request comes into you. If it's in form of an RFP or if it's form of a specific use case, because a lot of times they've had consultants or they've had people coming in and describing what they need, or they see a pain point. And in that case, you can say, okay, I don't have access to your data, but I know a bit about your business. I know what line of the use case the problem is, and we have done this for other clients. We have done that for that client. So using references as well as your knowledge about their business and their problem, you can go a long way in proving that you can get value out of it.
Yeah. It's all about presenting a vision, right? I mean, you present a vision to the client that this is possible, this is the art of possible. So which we basically, actually we call it as a customer discovery journey. So where you engage with the customer, and then you try to sort of show him the beautiful possibilities that AI can have. Sometimes even the customer is not aware of I mean, maybe he just want insights, but on top of that, what will happen if you have predictive forecasting? What will have if what will happen if you over and above insights, you also have some sort of IoT there, digital twin there. So it's like a iterative journey even for the client. And as you engage more and as you showcase the customer vision more, I think even for us, we discover a lot of potential possibilities which we can engage with on a bigger scale with the client. So typically that happens, right? We go for one solution and we end up, suggesting them to implement maybe a completely different scenario altogether, or maybe a joint of probably a data platform modernization first. On top of that, you have insights. On top of that, you will have AI/ML. So yeah, so it's all about presenting that vision to the client.
First the vision, and then you hit the horrible data, and then you have the data platform project.
Yeah, that is true as well.
You're not wrong at all, and I think it's really key the point you made there as well, Johan, on terms of where you're entering the customer journey. So our idea is very, very skewed because we come in as a solution for a pain point, but you really pointed out there that it could be, like you mentioned, coming in with already a solution in place that you have to go and develop, as opposed to actually walking the customer through the journey and identifying the right solution for them. So really.
But
Yeah, I think I'd echo the same thing.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, sorry. No, I was just saying that does it happen sometimes that, we end up overselling, and then the clients expect a lot of miracles from us?
Yeah, that actually feeds into what I was going to say to a degree. I agree with Leon and Johan as well. It depends on where you're coming in. And it depends on the interactions you've had with that particular client as well, as to whether or not you actually produce them something. Showing them something, I find, is the most powerful way to show them what it is that's possible. And even if you've not got the data, you can often create a POC quite quickly that will at least get them off a blank sheet and conceptualize what it is that you're trying to demonstrate to them. But obviously, if that turns out to be a lot of smoke and mirrors, then you can overpromise, just like Bianca was saying, and then they think you've done it, it's finished. Can we buy it? And it's, well, no, because that's just a demo. But yeah, it's interesting. Depends on what they give you for the description as to whether or not you can give them something which is representative of the problem you're going to be solving.
So yeah, I can say the same thing. So for me, because most of the people coming for the AI and ML, we already work with data, so we know what's the data in there. So that's a kind of the good chance because we can go through that. But for new customers, as other mentions, yep, definitely we look at the best practice happen in that industry. So for example, if they come from, for example, from the banking or from the financial or health, definitely we look at the combination of what we done and actually what other done in that area. So and because it's good for them because they can see, oh, this is possible, so we can have it. So it's as other mentioned, is a combination of the approach from what possible, what we can do. They don't know that this possible, and also the combination of the other things that other people done, and if I didn't done it before in that sector.
Yes. Yeah, so now we've talked a little bit about here, the problems of how can you actually get into a client and show that you can provide value. But then we have a problem sort of on the opposite side. How can we actually make a successful exit from the clients? So how can we make sure that this organization that you've been working with, that they can continue working with this solution that you have provided as a consultant? And how can you ensure that also that the client has the right knowledge or the critical knowledge of how this solution actually works, and also has the right type of people in the team that will take over the solution?
That is a challenge. If it depends. Some clients actually have people on board already, and they're the ones writing the proposal, or they are interviewing you for the project, and then it's easy. It's just a matter of transferring or documenting and describing what you're delivering. But if you need to train them as well, then it's and sometimes you even have to tell them what kind of people they need to hire. So typically, you will come into a fresh field customer like that. You will have to come in with a team and explain to them, okay, we will do this for you. You need these kinds of people. If you have competence inside, we can train them, and then we can do shadow training as well. So we work in tandem with them. So that's one way to do it. But of course, if they don't have any kind of digital maturity, it will be hard. But then probably your AI project would fail anyways.
Yeah, I agree there. And I think that one of the key you mentioned there is potentially identifying the right client as well. So maybe in terms of the client might not be a right fit. So it's okay to say we want all the clients in the world, which is great, an ideal scenario. But sometimes we need to be able to say, okay, actually, this client isn't mature enough or in a position for us to go in and deliver a solution. Make sure the client's aware of the reasons why that could be the case, and then understand the fact that we can do or can deliver for them, but they need to put this in place first, not be afraid of walking away from clients.
Right. Now, this is a very practical difficulty which we face, right? We are seldom able to ring fence the scope, ring fencing at the correct point of time, right? So, inadvertently, what happens is, especially with NLP, because as I said, right, we work a lot in knowledge mining NLP. So we hand over everything to the client. We deploy the solution. It is all working great. We provide those 2 months of guarantee, warranty, training, everything. 6 months down the line, the client tells me, hey, my search engine is not working, or my accuracy is only 20%, 30%. So there needs to be that knowledge also about data drift, about how to retrain your model, and they want everything automated, right? So okay, so even if you have a human out of loop pipeline, then still you need to have those re-ranking of results, which results should be more relevant. So all that knowledge, I don't think we can give it one shot to the client. So typically what we do is we have the 6 month or 8 month clause depending upon the complexity of the model developed, and basis that we slowly roll off from the project. So we have some sort of shadowing, some sort of annual maintenance on support services, L1, L2 support sort of thing. And finally, if the client agrees that they are able to handle, they have technical team on their side to mitigate these kind of things, then we slowly sort of roll off from the project. But otherwise it is very difficult, because you will still, like my last project, I'm still getting from my previous company, the client is still logging tickets in my name, saying, hey, we are still not, sometimes accuracy decreases for the hedge fund model, sometimes it gives me error, sometimes the scoring is very low. So yeah, I mean, so that is again, in the Southeast Asia region, the maturity of the clients is low as compared to probably the developed markets. So growth markets, the propensity for clients to understand the project is very low. So yeah, so that is a problem we routinely face, and which is why we have watertight contracts in place, that after so and so I won't be a part of your project. Anything else you want will be a change request.
Yeah, it's an interesting, certainly from a consultancy point of view, and one that I don't often plan heavily for, certainly not as an individual consultant, because obviously we're hoping they come back. But it drives your decision making as to what tools you're going to be using to solve their problems. And it could be that a particular client, doesn't have the knowledge in house to be able to deal with a highly complex solution you can give them. So it might be that you have to, for want of a better term, dumb it down a little bit for them and give them a slightly less than optimal solution, but one that they can manage themselves. Because even just retraining models, that can be above some clients' heads, and they just don't have that resource in house. So yeah, it's interesting to think that you could give them something that's perfect that they can no longer manage once you're out of the frame, and you definitely have to think about that as a consequence. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I think that what we found as well with a couple of our clients is putting in support packages. So this is whereby we end the engagement, as Bianca mentioned, but we offer them maybe 5, 10, 20 days worth of our time, where they can come back to us as well as part of that. Anything else outside of this, again, as Bianca mentioned, that becomes a change request or a new piece of work.
So yeah, the same. So actually, one of the thing is that it depends on the customer thing. So if they already kind of have a projects from other customers, from other clients and other industry, they develop for them. So it's good and bad because they already know the ML, but sometimes. For example, they face some problem from the previous industry that they developed the AI for them. So we need to correct that misconceptions and help them to kind of see the other solution can work. Sometimes, for example, they use some algorithms and they see that it doesn't work. So there is a need to kind of recover from that image. So it's good and bad to work with a client that already works with AI. But for clients that didn't, there's a good things because there's a blank area you can start to teach them about that. But sometimes also they don't know anything. So you go to the training fairs, as Johan mentioned. So you need to kind of go there, and that's a journey actually for each client that can be totally different from each other because all of them has a different tools, different journey till now, and yeah, it can be. I can say I couldn't compare them together at all. All of them is identical.
Okay, thank you for all your answers. So I think the one of the tricky thing when we're going to sell things is to estimate. So how do you do estimation for machine learning project? Maybe you have some framework already that you're going with all your clients.
I'm finding that quite hard, actually, mostly because everyone's unique, and that's what Layla's just said there. Pretty much is so it makes it difficult. It's not an exercise of just repeating what you did before. It's all of the surrounding services that you have to hang on to whatever AI that you're using. Certainly, the projects that I've been quoting and making POCs for recently are just everything is different, from ecology projects to manufacturing to just folks who have got the existing data and they want to process that. So it's difficult. So yeah, there's a lot of finger in the air. But I think you can, if you manage your client correctly, you can certainly work with them to be able to go along a journey to a rough estimate to almost a quote. But I never give quotes, so it's always an estimate anyway. But yeah, hard is the answer.
No, true, which is true, right? So, estimation has been a historic problem, be it AI or non AI, right? I mean, always in all IT projects, estimation is a huge problem. You don't have any, even for your normal, full stack development projects, seldom I think, we have some sort of predefined templates which we can reuse for estimation. And for AI it is all the more difficult because sometimes it's hybrid cloud plus on-prem, sometimes it's totally on-prem, sometimes it is multi-cloud. And basis sometimes it is combination of different components, so AI plus IoT, D365 plus customer insights plus Synapse plus AI and Cosmos DB, NoSQL, Elasticsearch. So a lot of components come into play basis the different type of scenarios you're trying to implement and the complexity of the use case which the client has. So it's very difficult, right? I mean, more often than not, when we use Azure Cognitive Search or knowledge mining kind of a thing, by experience of implementing it at couple of similar clients or couple of similar industries, we can still, sort of try to emulate what we estimated previously. But then again, the data annotation, labeling, the number of data sets which they have, all of this adds to the confusion of how to come at a very appropriate precise estimate. So yeah, as Pete rightly pointed out, that combined with the myriad services which you're trying to put together in that project, it becomes very hard. So I think it's more guesswork. Try to relying on your instincts, your intuition, and yeah, keeping some buffer. You have those 20-30% buffers and all of those things. But yeah, there's no hard and fast formula to arrive at a correct estimate.
No, but at least what you can do is you can box it. You can put in a time box or a frame of the project. So yes, it is a POC. It's not supposed to be 15 data sets and the complex algorithm. It's one or two data sets as very specific use case. And in these cases, you can time box quite a bit, even though, yes, there will still be an amount of guesswork. It will still be amount of what I lost the English word for it, but it's just intuition based on what you have. But you can at least say, okay, POCs maybe 3 months if we keep it to one data set and this small use case. But you still have to build in some buffers and some rough estimates because every customer tends to be unique in one way or another.
So yeah, same as actually Pete, Priyanka, and Johan mentioned. There's the same things for that. So it's very hard, I think, to kind of estimate that. Yes, having worked with the same solutions can help to have some predictions on that. But I found always when I do the estimation for Power BI project, is much more easier when I do it for the AI one, and kind of it can. It becomes sometimes, mostly because I work with a kind of a prediction scenario most of the time in my project. So the data can be, I really don't kind of start to work with their data to see that. So that part helped me to have a better estimation what will be happen. But I can say compared to BI project, ML project always take, I think the estimations can have more kind of fluctuate than what we done for the Power BI and BI projects.
And what can derail the estimations a bit is also, like, sometimes this has happened with us that we have to scrap the model which has been trained because it is not fit at all. I mean, 3 months of effort we have estimated, and after 3 months of training we find that the model, especially for real-time video analytics, we had to scrap that. So we had to pay a heavy fine to the client as well. But yeah, I mean, can happen with AI algorithms, right? I mean, you at the end of 2 weeks or 3 weeks, you're like, hey, this is not working. I need to scrap all my efforts.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Priyanka. We're in quite a similar position to Lena as well, in terms of both the Power BI perspective and the AI perspective. What we tend to do is absorb a little bit of that risk ourselves. So we try to go to staged price points. So when we get to this element, for example, we have your data cleansed and available to us. We'll then release this amount, and so on and so forth. Now, obviously, as you mentioned, Priyanka, there's a risk there when you get to a point when the model being trained isn't appropriate. We have to absorb that cost. So we have to make sure that we introduce a buffer as well from that perspective. But it's very tricky to price correctly. I totally agree.
And I guess it's the same thing in research as well. No result is also a result. So it depends on how you sell that to the clients.
So thank you for the answers. Shall we go to our next question, which is sort of going back to one of our previous questions. So we were talking about building a POC or doing researches and so on, and then we also talked about that it can actually turn into a real project as well. So what if the POC shows better results than what you can achieve with the end solution? What do we tell to our clients in that case?
I think the POC will always show better results than the end solution. Unfortunately, that's usually the end result for a POC. And I think it's about educating your client up front in terms of these solutions. What we find is that a lot of our clients are very new to AI. They hear it, it's very shiny, it's very much a buzzword. There's a lot of commentary around it at the moment. But understanding what that means, what it brings, and how to implement these type of solutions is where they need the hand holding and walking through. Now, this doesn't mean we need to get too technical because a lot of my clients at least gloss over some of the technical aspects. But being aware of some of the risks to the project really does help.
And again, it depends on the scope of the POC. If it's you get this small data set to train on and work on, of course you will get a lot better result than when you get the real data sets in the background. But it's, as Leon says, expect or training your clients to expect this change. Explaining to them in advance that normally when we do a limited POC, we'll get better results than when we go live with them. But then it's just a matter of trying to estimate roughly what that will be, and then letting them have the end result when we do it on a live, on the production environment instead.
Yeah, I suppose a lot of it comes down to why you're making the POC as well. Certainly, a few of my clients that I've worked with, the POC is a funding exercise, really, that they take around just so they can get some form of funding to be able to take the project forward further. So you've got that sort of a client as well as a rolling client who just wants to add AI to an existing solution. But certainly, everybody else has mentioned this educating the client, I think, is massively important at this point, so that they know that your POC is usually a very targeted solution that you're giving them for a specific purpose of either just showing them how it's going to work and giving them the clarity, or, as I've just mentioned, for a funding exercise. And then there's a whole separate section of development that needs to happen on top of that. And certainly, as we go right back to the start of the conversation, you may not even have the full data set to work with at that point. So making them aware that, look, this is likely to change. And as Priyanka mentioned, that can actually scrap what you started out with. Now I've seen the data, I definitely wouldn't start it this way. And maybe you lose your entire POC, but at least I've got the clarity at that point. And as Johan pointed out, no result at the end can actually be a solution. Well, we've made the POC, now we've got the real data. It doesn't work that way. So we had faulty premises to begin with. So yeah, there's a whole area that you need to be careful of. But yeah, educating the client can help.
I have actually a very interesting real life scenario to share here. So normally for POCs, we end up using our own data, right? A client is also like, yeah, go ahead, use your own data sets, mock data sets, open source data sets, due to which your results are fantastic. You seal the deal. And then, so this happened. So we did this pre-sale pretty nicely. We pocketed the deal, and then we got into the real implementation. The real implementation was like they were working on like Excel sheets. So they were actual horrendous Excel sheets, not even formatted properly. Like each Excel sheet is in a different format, merged columns, and the column formats are like different. So let's say, you have a name column in one Excel sheet and the same name column in the other Excel sheet, and both of them are different, like, not matching. So if I can't even do lookups, I have to sanitize the data. So right from, and they are like, okay, so when we went in for the engagement, so we were like, you have a paper pen system and you want to have rocket science on top of that. So our whole engagement turned from an AI and prediction, forecasting based engagement to a data platform modernization. So we and yeah, I mean, it was interesting. So we told them that you need to get your system in shape first. You need to put it on a cloud platform, then we can do analytics on top of it. And actually, AIML was like almost 500,000 deal, but DPM turned out to be more profitable. It jumped to 2.5 million. So yeah, I mean, that we were lucky in the scenario, but yeah, more often than not, what happens with POC and real life is totally different. In our case, it was like a unexpected thing which worked in our favor, but could have gone the other way also very easily.
Yeah, I can agree exactly with that. So that's a problem of the data quality always happens. So the data that you get in a POC, when you go to the real projects, as Priyanka mentioned, for example, they can be in Excel. I have the same scenario for the predictions of the, for example, how many months before a travel people needs to book their tickets, and I come up with lots of data that they are not really in the same way. So uh, it is really thing. So we always mention to them, we can do that, but despite to the data quality, because I think the first thing is that data quality should be make sure is correct over there. So we tell them that you can see some differences because the data quality change, and most of the time they agree, because when they go through the data quality parts, they see lots of missing value, lots of things that they are not okay with each other. So I think most of the time they accept that, and they are happy actually, because they see the issue in the data, and kind of, so, and of course, as other mentioned, educate them about that. Yep.
Yes, so we have one last question here, which is about, you can argue here for that the most important thing here when you try to sell an AI solution is to show that your solution can actually provide some value back to the customer. But you can also say that the second most important thing to discuss is how should we actually develop this solution? So, and then we're talking about what languages should we use, what frameworks should we use, what kind of tools, how should we document this? So, what are your experiences? How can you handle this type of situation?
Yeah, I think at least for us anyway, AI solutions have always fit the agile methodology. For us, it's really an iterative process. And with this process, AI is a really good fit for that. Sorry, Agile is a very good fit for that. We're able to twin with the IT teams. Sorry, you might be getting some background noise. I'm just going to go on mute for a moment. Okay, I'll pick that back up. Hopefully that's a bit better now. So yeah, we try to work within the agile methodology because it really does fit. In terms of our tool set, we have used Azure AutoML, but we also lean towards Python in particular. One of our favorite libraries to use is PyCharacter from a gentleman called Moez Ali, which is based on Skype there as well.
In my experience, it depends on either the client or the consultants that we bring into the project. Sometimes the client states that we are going to do this on Databricks using Python, or we are going to use Azure ML because that's our company standard, or we don't want to have full code, we only want to have low code solutions. I've had that one a couple of times. So it depends on the project, really. We don't have any specific tools that we want to use. It's more on the project fit.
Yep, same as Johan and Leon mentioned. That's the same thing. So I think the most important thing is that what architecture they are using. Some governments, they don't want to go to cloud, but some prefer, they already on the cloud and they don't want to, for example, expense for the gateway or something to do something on premises. So I think the most important thing is that what architecture they have. We don't want that kind of put extra cost for them to go and buy a new technology that is not in line with what they have. So I think that's one of the things that we should consider. And also about the language choice, I think I think that sometimes it just depends on how it works better for the algorithm. I never see my customer kind of check what language, for example, Python or R or Azure. So they mostly care about the architectures in line with them, or how it's kind of how much cost actually is provided for them.
Yeah, so for us, and I'm sure Eve will agree with me, we both work in Avanad, although in different locations. So we are severely constrained by Microsoft solutions, right? I mean, we have to pitch to clients Microsoft solution stack alone. So even if they are doing, hybrid cloud, like for example, AWS and some third party tool, which is why sometimes the choice of tools for us can be a bit tricky, because if you stick to Microsoft tech stack alone, right, sometimes a Spark NLP library for NLP related purposes could be much easier to use, and built an on-prem model could be much easier to use as well. But yeah, I mean, because of that, sometimes we have to make a choice. Sometimes Microsoft themselves, when they come for solutioning, they might for example, pitch in for synapse analytics or MML Spark, and then that sort of dictates the technology which we are going to which we are going to use to solution. So for us, I mean, the technology stack is a bit constricted by Microsoft technologies. But yeah, I mean, still, for example, ml.net and all of these interesting Microsoft stack do come into picture. So sometimes we have solution because we didn't have any Python developers or any open source developers. We have developed solutions with C# developers using ml.net libraries as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't think I've been prescribed specific tools to use, but certainly I bear the client in mind, like we said earlier, as to where we leave them afterwards. If we leave them with something complicated they can't handle. So yeah, usually it's just up to me when I choose to fulfill whatever it is they've asked me to do. It's yeah.
And then thank you for all those answers. I'm not sure if I come with my backup question. I'm asking the AI42 team here first of all, and then our speakers too. So let's talk a bit about the team we are working with. So how a perfect team look like, and based on what factors would you choose your teammates you are working with in a project?
Consultant answer is, of course, it depends. But it depends on what data source, how much data preparation do you need, and so on. But typically, I would like to have. I mean, personally, I'm not good at machine learning or doing complex math. I'm a solution architect and a data wrangler. But typically, I would want to have people in who can do the data sciencey stuff, but probably spec them up with people who can support them on the boring tasks of prepping the data, somebody to help them have a dialogue with the client. Sometimes that can be one person, sometimes that has to be three. But it has to be somebody who can do all these things and fit that into the client architecture or technology stack, as been mentioned before.
Yeah, I agree. The only element I might add to that, obviously, the obvious answer is it depends. I tend to, because we go into deliver a solution, I try to have a product owner as well. So somebody handling and responsible for that product and liaisons with the client in iterative processes behind that product as well.
So same. So beside the hard skill, like of course, I need a data science person to able to improve the algorithm if you have to write. So definitely that's a hard skill. The soft skill also is matter because you know that it's as each client can have different things. So how they can actually adapt themselves to that. So beside all of the hard skill, the intention to work with other tools. So not being biased just to stick with one thing. So because every solution, every problem can have different solution. So I think that's also really matters. So beside that harder skills that they need to have, so data wrangling and also data science, I'm really look for these soft skills, how they can kind of able to accept other technology and kind of going to learn and how much they are motivated through that.
It's an interesting one. I think it speaks to a little bit of what we spoke about earlier with how complex a project is and what other services you're going to be touching and what whether it's an IoT project or just a visualization project or I suppose it's going to come down to that. The real answer is I'd just choose all the folks on this call and be happy then. Be easy.
Yeah. One important thing which I have learned for while having the perfect team is more often than not I have a lot of good quality data scientists, data engineers, but one person which I sorely miss that skill set is an MLOps person, the one who's actually going to productionalize your models, build your pipelines, parameterized pipelines. So this DevOps MLOps person is like uh, a must addition apart from all the good stuff which you have. So all the sciencey stuff, data sciencey stuff, all the project director, architects, and all of these good people. I think it's important to have a security person, an infra security person, and an MLOps person for a data science AI/ML engagement.
Yeah, I mean, having someone with ethics as well, you may need an actual ethics person depending on what sort of data
Yes.
you're going to be processing. And you put that together with security and ops, and I think you've got the beginnings of a good team if you've got somebody with a data science background. It's a hard problem to solve.
I also found out that for me, they always have full teammate on the top of the MLOpers and the security people and all those amazing people who know everything else that I don't know. I always needed software developers on my side, just to speed it up. they are always better to look through some parts of the project. So I think it is time to conclude. So with that, Gosha and Håkon, would you like to give us some conclusion here?
Yes, I think we've covered a very wide range here of topics and questions, so it's a little bit difficult to draw some straight conclusion. I think so. I think it's better just to say that we've really appreciated all of you, all of our speakers, and all of the insights that you brought here to the table. And we're saving this on our channel, so anyone can, as we said here, anyone can find if they're interested in some specific aspects to learn more about that, I think.
So thank you everyone who joined us, and of course everyone who watch live or will watch later on. It was very important topic because we're coming to AI with all of the project, and we would like to know how to better sell to our clients.
Yes, thank you, Håkan and Gosha. And I also would like to thank you a lot to our speakers today because you did bring a lot of valuable information on the stage today again. Thank you a lot to our audience for joining us. And remember, we go away for the summer break now, but then come back in the beginning of September with a real life machine learning conference. So please follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and on Meetup, of course, because there you will find all the important information about our upcoming sessions and the conference as well. And at that conference, we are going to bring in scenarios that are coming from existing real life projects, which is why it is so cool. So please join us on that conference as well. Did I miss something?
No, I think we also would like to thank all the contributors that we have, and also our sponsors for making these shows possible. And we also would like to thank, of course, you audience who are watching this either online or maybe watching it sometime in the future.
So have fun, everyone, during the summer. Thank you again for joining us for this half year of AI 42. See you in the next semester.
And also special notice to our speakers, if you could just stay on the line while we're finishing off. Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.